This is All India Radio, Power of Listening. Under this series, tonight we take you on a journey to the world of yet another magnificent facet of the traditional Indian knowledge systems. I'm Manoj Mainkar. In the earlier episode, we primarily took a look at the documented history of trade and commerce in ancient India. In today's episode, we bring you the second and the concluding part, focusing on other aspects of the subject. This program is scripted by Neha Tripathi, and the expert on the show is Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi, Assistant Professor, Department of Sanskrit, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee University, Ranchi, Jharkhand. Stay tuned. During the Vedic period, people were very diligent in doing all sorts of trading and entrepreneurial activities. In ancient India, they had the support of diversity in products that could be sold or bought. These included food grains, fruits, vegetables, spices, nuts, stones, gems, metals, etc. And the next thing to explore now is how these things were brought at a place where people could come and take things that they needed. There is not much references about the existence of markets in those times, but presence of haats, melas and bazaars are common during those times. What were the resources required to start a trade? What was the business model that ancient people referred to? Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi observes.
Kalidas gives very good description of the town market and its business transaction. He describes an urban marketplace with big shops lined both sides of the highway. Ridhapanam rajapatham sapasyan vigahyamanam sarayum cha naubhi vilashibhischadvishitani pauraih puropakanthopavanani reme. There were big and small traders. The latter used to satisfy the small demands of the locality, but the big merchants would collect large quantities of goods from the centers of production and send them to distant countries where they might be sold at higher price.
There is also doubt on whether the ancient people knew about the trade techniques or trade secrets to be followed to gain maximum profits. Experts believe that any trade flourishes only if there is a balance of demand and supply. Did this concept of demand and supply exist then as well?
Acharya Shukra has propounded the marginal theory of utility on the theory of demand and supply. According to him, value emerges only in relation to human wants. He has attempted at a scientific analysis of the causes and conditions of value. Price depends upon the utility of the article. No utility, no price. Na mulyam gunahinasya vyavaharakshamasya cha नीचमध्योत्तमत्वं च सर्वस्मिन् मूल्यकल्पने चिन्तनीयं बुधैर्लोकात् वस्तुजातस्य सर्वदा. However, there was also regulation and control of prices of marketable goods. Manusmriti says, Agamam niragamam sthanam tatha vriddhikshayavabhau vicharya sarvaparnyanam Karayet kraya vikrayau. Let the king fix the rate for the purchase and sale of all marketable goods, having duly considered from where they have come, their destination, transport charges, original value of goods, expenses, and margin of profit. Yajnavalkya Smriti says that adding the incidental charges to the cost of commodity, let the price be fixed, which shall be equitable both to the buyer and the seller. Parnyasyopari sanstapya vayam parnyasamudbhavam ardhonugrahakritkaryah kretu vikreturevacha. The sale of purchase should be effected at the price which is fixed by the king. The surplus made therefrom should be understood to be the legal profit of traders. Rajani sthapyate yordha pratyaham tena vikrayah krayo va nisravastasmat vanijam labhakrit smritah. According to Yajnavalkya Smriti, traders conspiring together to maintain a price to the prejudice of laborers and artisans, knowing the rise or fall of the prices, are to be punished. Sambhuya vanijam parnyam anargheno rupundhatam ardhasya hrasam vriddhim va janato dama uttamah. Traders who combine together to obstruct the sale of commodity at fixed price by demanding a wrong price or selling it at wrong price should be punished.
Balance and weights or tula are an indispensable part of trade and commerce. In our ancient traditional knowledge system, the use of tula is explained scientifically. There is even mention of using wooden vessels of definite size for measuring grains. Standards of weights were also in practice at that time. We find mention of all this in the Vedas. Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi.
Weights having a long history, older than that of money, Vedic literature undoubtedly suggests the existence of a system of weights. Pariman has been used for weighing. The word taul in the Atharva Ved means the thing weighed in the balance. The mantra hints at the weighing with weights. The weighing apparatus has been called matri. Mita is used for weighed article and miyaman for weighing. Matra is used for weights in both Rigaveda and Atharva Veda. The Atharva Veda used the word druvaya, which means the wooden pot. This was possibly used for measuring grain. Such pots are used for measuring grain even today in the villages. According to Manusmriti, all weights and measures must be duly marked by the king and they should be re-examined every 6 months. Tulamanam pratimanam sarvam cha syat sulakshitam satsu cha masesu punareva parikshayet. The Vasishtha Dharma Sutra describes weights as essential household effects and recommends that their accuracy should be maintained by the kings. Falsification of weights and measures was recognized as cognizable offense. Kautilya specifically provided for appointment of superintendent of weights and measures to maintain and to control over weights and measures. Violation of law regulating weights and measures was an act punishable as theft. Kautilya recommends that weights should be made of iron or stone or of any substance which would neither contract when wet nor expand under the influence of heat. Kautilya enumerates 16 types of balances. Of this, there were 10 varieties of light balances with double scale pans. Beginning with the lever of 6 anguls in length and 1 pala weight in metallic mass, there were 10 types of balances with levers increasing successively by 1 pala in the weight of their metallic mass and by 8 angul in their length. The heavy balances were of 6 types. Of these, a balance was called Samvrittayula with its lever 72 angul long and it weighed 53 palas in the metallic mass. Though every care was taken to maintain the accuracy of weights, there was always a possibility of some error in them. To guard against this, there was a practice to add some handful of grains to the measured quantity. This practice was called Hasta Purna.
From the Vedas, we know that during that period, trade and commerce were important sources of the economy. When trade first started, did we have the coins or rupiah to do the trade? No. Coins were probably unknown, but trade was carried on through a barter system. How did this system begin? What things were bartered and why?
Exchange is a simple affair of giving or taking of one thing for another. When exchange is done not to acquire a thing of choice but for profit, it is done either through any medium, money and currency, or through barter. Therefore, barter is a traffic for exchange of commodities. The antiquity of barter as mode of sale can be traced to the time when man for the first time acquired so much amount of technical skill that he could produce surplus. Most common mode of commercial exchange in the early Vedic times was barter, even though system of money was also in use. But the scope of money throughout the Vedic period was very limited and the bulk of trade was carried through barter. In Yajurveda, an instance of mutual exchange of commodities of equal value has been recorded. Dehi me dadamite nime dhehi nite dadhe niharam cha harashi me niharam ni harani te swaha. Give me this article and I will give you that in return. Keep this as my deposit. I keep this as your deposit. Give me the cash price for it. I give you the price demanded. Let people thus transact business truthfully. The Atharvaved also proves the practice of barter in that age. Prapan and Pratipan were the common terms of exchange.
Interestingly, the people of the ancient era were aware of the concept of bargaining or haggling. Despite not having money in any form, they knew how to barter in their favor and earn profits. But trade can't be possible without money for long. Thus entered pieces of gold called nisk. We have repeated mention of this word in Rigved. It was the gold coin of the Mauryas. Official currency of the Mauryas was Pan, made of silver and equivalent to 3/4 tola. Arthashastra, written by Kautilya, mentions the minting of coins, that is, making of coins or money out of metal, during the Maurya period. The silver coin of the Gupta period was known as Rupaka. How did this coinage system vary in different dynasties? The Aryans, the Cholas, the Mauryas, the Guptas, etc. And how did it reach to today's rupiah? According to Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi,
Nisk and Hiranyapinda perhaps were two types of metallic money prevalent in Vedic India. D.R. Bhandarkar opines that during the Vedic age, the Nisk was the name of the coin in the country. In one verse of Rigveda, the god Rudra is described as wearing Nisk, which was Visharupa. Bhandarkar has accepted the term Rupa or Visharupa as technical words denoting the symbol or figure on the coin. He is of the opinion that the use of Rupa as a technical term for coin continued even later. Kautilya Arthashastra mentions Rupa Darshaka as the examiner of coins whose duty was to regulate currency both as a medium of exchange and as a legal tender admissible into the treasury. This shows the term Rupa meant the coin. During the age of Brahmanas and Upanishads, Nisk was recognized as a unit of barter of particular weight and value was given as sacrificial fees. Rigvedic Niska and Hiranyapind in this period stood as link between money and currency stages. Niskas become more popular as currency in Jatakas and began to be used in commercial transactions as medium of exchange. It may be presumed that Rigvedic Hiranyapindas during this age and later adopted the form of Suvarna of definite weight and value. The later Vedic Samhitas and Brahmanas refer to Shatamana and Pad as two other denominations of metallic money. As sometimes Shatamana has been mentioned along with Suvarna, it has been assumed by D.R. Bhandekar and others that Shataman was a coin of gold. Vedic metallic money like Nishka, Suvarna, Shatamana, etc. were minted perhaps by the state. But later on, it seems that private business took the initiative and began to mint coins for meeting the requirements of day-to-day exchange. It was the growing needs of the state that necessitated a regular coinage. Under the rule of Nandas, standard weight of their coinage was determined, and later Mauryan government established its control over the system of currency. When the state took upon itself the duties of minting coins, the individualistic features through symbols also became evident on the coins. With the progress of time, the popularity of Nishk as metallic money or a definite weight and value began to increase. It became so standardized that people began to count wealth in terms of Nishk. Panini refers to Nishk in several sutras of Ashtadhyayi. This suggests that wealth during those days counted in terms of Nishk. V.S. Agrawal points to several references from Mahabharata and Mahabhasya in this regard. Manu and Yagyavalkya equate one Nishk for 4 Suvarns. Patanjali refers to Pad Nishk. On this basis, we can assume the existence of a coin denomination known as Ardhanishk. Patanjali's Padnishk may be equated with 1 Suvarna. According to Kautilya, the weight of 1 Suvarna was equal to 1 Karsh or 80 Ratikas, which was also weight of 1 Karshapan of gold. In Gupta period, large number of coins, silver coins and copper coins were in circulation. Although the later coins became heavier in weight than those of earlier kings, the percentage of gold in the coins gradually declined, especially after the later part of the regime of Skandagupta. Passing through ages, rupee has taken its present shape.
There are even references which depict that before starting a business or trade, merchants would pray to Indra. The prayer went like this: be his guide and leader, chasing ill will, wild beasts and highway robbers away. So, even the merchants of ancient times had the fear of losing their money and commodities to robbers. People were so aware that they even developed prayers for regular increase in the capital or money invested in trade. Pana and Prapana were used for purchase of articles and Vikray or Pratipana for their sale. The purchased articles were sold with some profit, thus making trade profitable. There are a few more secrets in Atharva Veda about achieving success in trade. The two very important things will be explained by our expert, Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi.
There is a common Sanskrit saying, Vanijye vasate lakshmihi. It indicates that trade leads to prosperity. The Atharva Veda emphasizes the need for having two qualities for achieving success in trade. They are Charitam. It means conduct and behavior. The purity of conduct and sincerity in behavior makes a man trustworthy. This helps him prosper in trade. Utthitam, rising up or diligence. Atharva Ved says that this determination and diligence brings prosperity. According to another mantra, qualities called Upoh and Samuh are means of prosperity. Upoh means bringing clothes, which suggests bringing items purchased from distant places. Samuh means accumulations. Selling of useful goods brought from other places is highly profitable. Accumulation or storing of goods is one of importance in trade. The goods stored in particular circumstances can multiply profits. The tradesman, therefore, stores a few very important articles. The mantra says the Upoh and Samuh are the means of inexhaustible prosperity. Upohascha Samuhascha kshataro te prajapate tavihavah tam swatim bahum bhumanamakshitam. Wisdom and anticipation are of great importance in trade. Acting properly at the proper time brings property. Wisdom has thus been described as Shatasheya and a giver of 100 of profits. But for this, trader should have certain qualities. Vedic Rishi says, Yabhi Shudanu Aushijaya Vanije Dirgha Shravase Madhukosho Aksharat Kakshovantam Stotaram Yabhiravatam Tabhiru Shu Utibhirashvina. Here Vanije is in dative case. It means for a trader. According to this mantra, for becoming a successful trader, one has to be intelligent, must possess great wealth, and must have noble companions. The trader should have a faith in Vedic Devata. He should offer prayers towards Devata. For such a trader, Vedic Rishi says in Atharva Veda, Indramaham Vanijam Chodayami Sa na etu pura eta no astu nudannaratim paripanthinam mrigo sha ishano dhanada astu mahiyam. Needless to say that pursuits need following things: goodwill and cooperation, peace and order, safe communications, etc. It is always the traders who have mostly contributed to the making of land, ways, waterways, and airways.
In addition to the indigenous merchants of the Vaishya caste, we had another class of merchants designated by the word Pani in Vedic literature. According to the evidence of Vedic literature, the Panis were a rich and enterprising merchant class solely devoted to the cause of gain, either through trade or through loans with high interest rates. Rigvedic evidence shows that with the exception of a few of them, they were the objects of popular dislike. So, rate of interest was a practice in ancient traditional knowledge systems as well. Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi observes,
If the human weakness of Vanik carry him too far, he no longer remains Vanik but becomes a Pani, an ill-earning trader, a black marketeer. In Rigveda, there are numerous references to the Panis on whom has been heaped a good deal of condemnation. Vedic Rishi says, Narevata panina sakhyamindro shunvata sutapah samgrinite asya vedah khidati nagnam visusvayam paktaye kevalo bhut. Indra does not befriend a wealthy and uncharitable Pani. He rather destroys the hoarding of such a man and kills him naked. He is friend of only him who cooks food as an offering to sacrifice. Yajnavalkya Smriti says that high ethical standard was to be maintained in the trade. There was severe punishment prescribed for adulteration and substitution by artificial substances. The Atharva Ved elaborately mentions giving and taking of loans. The Atharva Ved mentions apamitya debt, the debt in the form of grain or money taken with the condition to pay it off in the same form it was taken. In the Atharva Veda, Kala and Shafa are the words used for interest. The eighth part, Shafa, or the 16th part, Kala, of the debt was taken as interest.
With time, travel for trade also became necessary for the practitioners. According to Kautilya, trade routes were to be established as ways of profit. Travel for trade could be done either by land or by water. The inland trade was carried on in carts and caravans, but trade on a large scale would not have been possible without the knowledge of ocean routes. Among the trade routes by land and by water, the water route was preferred as it yielded more profit. Transport of goods by water cost less money and less labor. In Rigved, there is reference of Samudra that speaks about Varuna's knowledge of the ocean routes along which ships would sail. A second passage refers to the Samudra in connection with the activity of merchants. There are even references to pearls and gains of trade. Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi observes,
It goes without saying that trade is inseparably allied with communication. Trade and track have close affinity. Transport occupies a very important place in an economy. It connects village with village and town with town. As today, Vedic Aryans invented means of transportation, and that is why India was known as a big trading center. The Vedic period's means of transportation may be considered into three parts: land transport, water transport, and air transport. Various finished products were transported to other places by land and water. Animals and carts were used in transporting these goods through land routes. Chariot and bullock cart were prominent among carts. Among animal bulls, castrated bull, horse, donkey, mule, camel, male buffalo were prominently used. We find in Rigveda word path as hundred of places, sometimes used literally and at others metaphorically. Metaphors only enhance the importance of literal use of word. This shows that paths or roads are very important in socializing man. Going by the various mantras, one can conclude as following. The road route should be as short as possible. The centers of plenty should be duly connected. The roads should be safe from highwaymen, robbers, swindlers, and beasts. There should be a regular controlling body appointed by the state to ensure safe and speedy communication. Here it has to be pointed out that Pushan has been described as controller of paths. The roads were so constructed that the cart could play on them without any obstruction. Let us now turn attention to waterways and airways. There are many references to sea voyage in the Vedas. In the Rig Veda, we find that what Pushan is for land routes, so Varun is for waterways and Savita for airways. Veda yo vinam padamantarikshena patatam ved navah samudriyah. The Varun knows the place of aeroplanes descending from sky. He knows the boats of a sea. In effect, small and big boats were used in trade done through water routes and ship in trade through sea routes. The Atharva Ved describes a boat with 100 oars. A big boat is described as large as sky. Aritram vadivasprithu tirthe sindhunam ratha dhiya yujra indavah. It is also mentioned that these boats reached their destinations and harbored there after sailing for many days and nights. The 100-oared ship of Bhujyu is mentioned in Rigveda. Anarambhane tadavira yetha manasthane agrabhane samudre yadashvina उधरभुजमस्तं सतारित्रां navamatasthebansam. It sails in very deep sea where there is no harborage. The boats sailing in the sea have also been mentioned. The purpose of sea transport is earning wealth. This suggests that foreign trips were made by ships for earning money. A sailor or boatman is named as Sambin in Atharvaveda. In Shatapath Brahman, the word Aritri is used for oarmen and Navaja for sailors. From these references, it is apparent that there was maritime traffic in Vedic India. During the post-Vedic period, maritime activity became more intensive and very popular. Though a ship was considered one of the 6 injurious things, the hope of profit motivated people to take maritime trade as a sure source of wealth. Now let us take in end the question of airways. Here are 2 mantras. Ye te panthaah savitah purvyashorenavah sukrita antarikshe tebhirno adyapathivi sugebhi raksha chano adhi chabruhi deva. Whatever ways, O God, Savita, are there in the sky, old, dustless, and well laid, by those paths today easy to travel, protect us and guide us. Ye panthano bahavo devayana antara dyava prithvi sancharanti tema jushantam payasagritena yatha kritva dhanamaharani. Whichever paths may godly vehicles traverse between earth and sky, let them be provided with milk and butter so that I may earn wealth through trade. Atharvaveda says that the trade was operated through both the routes of land and water. Sthalapatho varipathascha vanikpathah. In brief, it is to be said that transport played a very important role in Vedic economic life. People of Vedic times used to go to distant lands to earn profits on their goods. Internal and coastal trade routes were traced by the people. Routes of traders were well built. The travelers of Vedic times wished that their routes might be free from thorns so that they might go straight to their destination. The commercial significance of routes was recognized in Atharvaveda. The attempts to improve road conditions were not lacking in Vedic times. As a result of these activities, there developed good roads. The Vedic word prapatha probably did not refer to ordinary roads, but to comparatively better ones. Similar was the sense of Vedic Mahapatha.
No doubt, India deserves to be called the Golden Sparrow. Listening to this episode makes us feel proud of our people in the Vedic era all over again. The glory of our ancient Indian traditional knowledge system continues. That's all in today's episode. Trade and commerce in ancient India. You heard the 45th episode of our all-new series on traditional Indian knowledge systems, Power of Listening. This was the second and the concluding part on the theme. This program was scripted by Neha Tripathi, science communicator and writer, and the expert on the show was Dr. Dhananjay Vasudev Dwivedi, Assistant Professor, Department of Sanskrit, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee University, Ranchi, Jharkhand. We hope you enjoyed it. This episode was produced by Vinod Kumar. Special thanks to AIR Ranchi and Randhir Thakur for their contributions. This episode is also available on our official YouTube channel, Akashvani AIR. This is Manoj Mainkar signing off from Delhi. Bye for now.